This is side one of the first structural awareness tape. It introduces the concept of the Rolf lines. Begin by standing in front of a full-length mirror. Turn so that you can see your profile in the mirror, and just look at yourself as you are and see your posture. Imagine that you can draw a line from your ear, through your shoulder, your hip, your knee, and your ankle. That's like a vertical plumb line. Then compare how your body is compared to that ideal vertical line. Where does your body deviate from that plumb line? What's the relationship between your hip and your shoulder, or your hip and your knee, in terms of that ideal vertical line? Where is your head in relation to that plumb line? Most of us carry our heads a little too far forward. Then turn so that you can see the front of your body in the mirror, and look at your structure again in terms of your shoulders, your hips, your knees, and your feet. And see, are your feet parallel or are they turned out? Are your knees looking straight ahead, or do they turn out also, perhaps with your feet? And how are your hips? Is one hip on one side higher than the other hip? Get a sense if you can see a difference in your hips. You might even want to place your hands on your hips and see if you can feel a difference. And then also look at your shoulders. Is one shoulder higher than the other shoulder? Is one shoulder broader than the other shoulder? How symmetrical are you? What's different from side to side? And how do you hold your head? Is your nose lined up with your midline, or do you tend to have your head off to one side? You don't need to make any corrections. Just observe how you are, how you feel from the inside, and use the feedback of the mirror to confirm your own inner sensations of how your body is. Then I'd like you to begin to imagine the first and most important Rolf line. This line comes up through the space between your legs, right up through the center of your torso. It's a line that goes up directly in front of the spine, right up through the middle of your body, up through your neck, all the way up through the top of your head. You can imagine that this line extends up through the top of your head like a string. We like to tell children that this string reaches all the way up to your own personal star, so that your body is at the base of this string from a star. This is your space in your lifetime. So there's a sense of a line that goes all the way up to the heavens through your body. And just have a sense of this line, very much thinking about it, imagining it, seeing if you can sense it from the inside of your body. One way to help reinforce that line is to breathe up, so that as you inhale, you're breathing up your core Rolf line. This is the line that goes up, right up through the center of your body, all the way up through the top of your head. So that as you inhale, it's almost like taking an elevator ride. As you inhale, your awareness and your breath travels up through the inside of your body, right along that core Rolf line. And you move your awareness with your breathing all the way up through the top of your head. And as you breathe up, just be aware of the tiny little accommodations that your body makes to this direction. The direction is really thinking of this core Rolf line going up and breathing up. Then, if you've had your eyes closed, open them again, or look again fresh at your body. You're facing the mirror head on, and just see, do you notice any slight difference in what you look like now than just a few minutes ago? Do you feel any slight difference? just from being able to breathe up, just from the direction of giving this direction of up to your breathing. Then also turn again so that you can see your profile in the mirror, and continue to breathe up, really having a sense of growing right up your Rolf line so that you might feel that this is the tallest I've ever been. The sense is that the top of your head, where the line comes out through the top of your head, that should be the closest part of you to the ceiling, in some sense of lifting up through the top of your head with every inhalation. The exhalation can just be a gentle letting go, not a collapsing, but just a gentle exhaling and letting yourself be. The inhale is the active part where you have a sense of an inner lift beginning to come up through your body, and the exhale can be just a gentle letting go. Continue to breathe up right along your core Rolf line, and then again turn your head so that you can see your profile in the mirror, and see if you notice any changes now between the relationships of your ear, your shoulder, your hip, your knee, and your ankle. How is your body now in relation to that ideal plumb line? Has there been a slight shift in balance, in posture? Continue to breathe up and be aware of your breathing and of that sense of your breath moving up as you move through the next direction. And the next direction is to lie down on a carpeted, soft surface. Continue to have the sense of breathing up even as you lie down. Then just stretch out on your carpeted floor and just relax. Allow the floor to support you. Allow yourself to be supported by the floor. So here, lying down when you exhale, you can allow more of yourself to be supported by the floor. See how much you can let go of your body and allow the floor to really support you. Your inhale can continue to reinforce your core Rolf line that moves through the inside of your body all the way up through the top of your head. And with your exhale, you can just allow yourself to let go a little bit more. Allow your legs to just flop wherever they want, and your arms to just be easy and relaxed. I'm going to ask you to do what we call a cleansing breath. And this breath requires that you use your imagination. So I'd like you to begin by imagining that you can breathe in through the soles of your feet. Now, even though this is not technically possible, you can imagine that you can breathe in a sense of an energy and a breath that can come in through the soles of your feet and travel up through the inside space of your legs, into your pelvis and torso, and continue right up your core Rolf line, moving all the way up through the inside of your torso, up through your neck, and all the way up and out through the top of your head. That would be one long inhalation from your feet all the way up through the top of your head, almost as if you open up your body to be a pipeline. And that's why we call it a cleansing breath. There's a sense that you can breathe and experience an energy flow that moves through you from your feet all the way up through the top of your head. And then your exhale is again just a letting go, a letting yourself be. As you take a cleansing breath, notice if it's easier to move the energy through your body in certain places, and if it's more difficult to have a sense of energy movement in other places in your body. Some of us have places in our bodies that are more stuck or less available to us. By imagining that this energy breath can flow through you, almost a sense of like water rushing through you, we can begin to open up from the inside some of those places that might feel a little bit more congested to us. So continue to use your cleansing breath from your feet all the way up through the top of your head, and just be aware of any places in your body that it's more difficult to move that energy breath through. Those are the places where you really need to use your imagination to begin to sense some energy movement going through. Many of us have that kind of a stuck place, perhaps around the pelvis or the hips. Just look for your own personal place where it's more difficult to move the energy through, and really have a sense of imagining movement going through there, movement of energy. We'll return to this cleansing breath frequently throughout our structural awareness work. And it's a breath to just kind of help cleanse the inner space of our body. Just as much as we take a shower for the outside, there's a sense of cleansing our own energy space from the inside. I'd like you to turn your attention to the way your body is on the floor. Just sense how your legs are, what position they're in, what part of your leg is in contact with the carpet, which way your toes are pointing, what side of your leg touches the floor more, and how are your feet compared one with the other. Is one foot turned out more than the other foot? How does that make a difference in the whole length of your legs? In order to get a sense of this, you need to use your own inner kinesthetic sense. That's your inner ability to become aware of the position of different parts of your body. Actually lift your head and take a look at your feet and see which one is turned out more. And that's a way to check the accuracy of your kinesthetic sense. And it's also a way to educate your sense. So if you notice that, oh yes, my right leg is turned out more, then let your head go back to the floor and close your eyes and see if you can sense that right foot turned out more and how that feels all the way up your right leg, so that you can begin to train and educate your kinesthetic sense. Notice how the turnout from your feet is related to how your knees are. Do your knees look in the same direction as your feet? Are they turned out equally? Is one leg turned out more than the other? And follow that all the way up into your pelvis, into your hips. Does one whole leg feel different than the other one as it comes out of your pelvis? And does that make a difference in how your pelvis is on the floor? Does one side of your buttocks feel heavier or more solid on the floor than the other side? Continue moving up and you'll notice a space at the small of your back. Is that space between you and the floor, is that space symmetrical? Is it the same on each side? See what you can sense using your kinesthetic ability, and then you can always double check by sliding your hands under your waistline in the back. Do you feel that you have more room on one side or the other side? And how does what you perceive using your hands relate to what you perceive using your kinesthetic sense? That space behind the small of your back involves the second Rolf line, and that's what we call the waistline. We'll be doing a movement shortly that will make that space smaller, and you'll do that by moving your waistline back to the floor. The waistline is the part of your spine right at your waist. And you'll notice that there's a very small movement that you can make to bring that waistline back toward the floor, and it makes the space at the small of your back smaller between you and the floor. That's the second most important Rolf line. It'll frequently be used with the instruction, bring your waistline back. In this position, it means bring your waistline back to the floor. However, at this point, you can just let everything relax and move your awareness up to the space behind your neck. And again, Get a sense of whether that space is symmetrical from side to side, how it involves your shoulders, and how far down your back that space behind your neck travels. Now, if you have a lot of space behind your neck, you may notice that your chin is sort of jutting forward. If that's the case, then I would ask you to actually bring your chin in order to reduce the size of that space behind your neck. If you have just a small amount of space, that's fine. Do not bring your chin in. And if you have no space behind your neck, I would say bring your chin out a little bit so you have a little bit of space. So ideally we want some space between the back of your neck and the floor, but not too much. Now I'll begin to ask you for some gentle movement. You can begin all the way down at your feet by bringing the center of the back of your heels to the floor so that your toes are pointing straight up to the ceiling. That means your whole leg will rotate so that your feet are pointing straight up. Then you can move your inner ankle bones straight toward each other. So you're sliding your legs together right on your midline. They'll meet right at the midline of your body. And you want your inner ankle bones to come toward each other. For some of you, they may even touch. But most likely, your feet will touch at the side of your big toe. Your feet should not touch at your heels. Then, keeping your inner ankle bones toward each other, bring your waistline back to the floor. That means make that space at the small of your back disappear. You can actually bring your waistline straight back to the carpet. Now, by doing that, you may notice that you become very skinny. Your stomach will be flat at this point and inside of you. Then, keeping that waistline back to the floor and keeping your feet together also, lengthen the back of your neck. That can really just mean breathing up through the back of your neck. If some of you have a lot of space at your neck, then you might want to bring your chin in a tiny little bit. So you're paying attention to 3 areas: your feet together, your waistline back to the floor, and lengthening your neck. You hold that position for a few seconds, maybe for a breath or two, and then just when you come to an exhale, let go of everything in slow motion. So you just let go as you exhale. And then your next inhalation can be a cleansing breath, breathing in through the bottom of your feet, moving that breath all the way through the inside space of your body, all the way up through the top of your head, allowing that cleansing breath to wash through the inner space of you. Then when you're ready, begin again with your feet. Bring the center of the back of your heels to the floor so your toes are pointing straight up to the ceiling. Then bring your inner ankle bones straight toward each other. You keep your feet in that position. Then bring your waistline back to the floor. Now that's a very small movement. It's a little bit like tilting the pelvis under you in order to bring your waistline back to the floor. Be careful not to bend your knees to accomplish that movement. You'll notice that when you're doing it the correct way, that your stomach will be flat and inside of you. Then from your waistline, breathe up through your neck. Use your core Rolf line to help give you a sense of lengthening your neck from your waistline. So you can breathe up your core Rolf line and have a sense of your neck extending and growing out of your waistline. You hold that for 7 to 10 seconds, and then when you come to an exhale, again, just in slow motion, let go of everything. And you might find that if you take another breath and then another exhale, that you can even relax a little bit more. Your next inhalation can be a cleansing breath, again having a sense of energy flow through the inside space of your body, all the way up through the top of your head. Now we'll repeat the same movement pattern, but we'll add a slight variation. Begin again by bringing the center of the back of your heels to the floor so that your toes are pointing straight up to the ceiling. Then bring your inner ankle bones straight toward each other, and your feet will touch at the side of your big toes. Then bring your waistline back to the floor. From your waistline, lengthen your neck so you have a sense of growing taller even in this lying down position. Then the variation that we'll add is for you to stretch your arms up overhead. So actually move your arms so that they're above your head on the carpet, and stretch with your fingertips all the way up as tall as you can go, and you can extend your heels down in the opposite direction. So it's almost as if you're being stretched from your heels going down, your fingertips reaching up, and remember your waistline right in the middle to bring your waistline back to the floor. You hold that for about 10 seconds, and then when you come to an exhale, just let go of everything. You can allow your elbows to bend, and your arms will just rest gently on the carpet. They can stay at the side and above your head. Just letting your elbows bend will help them to relax, and just let everything be easy. Again, use your cleansing breath to help move that inner sense of energy flow through your body. Then begin again with your feet, bringing your inner ankle bones straight toward each other, your waistline right back to the floor. Lengthen your neck as if your neck grows out of your waistline, and then reach with your fingertips all the way up. Now ideally you want your arms to stay close to the floor even as you reach. So you stretch your heels downward, your fingertips up, and your waistline stays back right in the middle of you. Really work that waistline back. And again, you hold this for maybe a breath or two, and then when you come to an exhale, just let go of everything. And again, move your arms back down to your sides and repeat your original movement pattern one more time. So you bring the backs of your heels to the floor so your toes are straight up, your inner ankle bones toward each other, your waistline back, and lengthen your neck from your waistline. Now, for this last time, you can move your arms so that your palms are down at each side of your hip and your elbows are slightly bent. Notice that as you're in this position, that this is actually the same position as standing, except that you are horizontal instead of vertical. Really use your breath to travel right up your core Rolf line, and that's what will lengthen your neck. And then when you come to an exhale, just let go. I'd like you to again bring your inner ankle bones straight toward each other and your waistline back. And this time, actually put your hand on your stomach. And your stomach should be flat. Draw your knees up by dragging your heels, keeping your stomach flat and your waistline back to the floor, until eventually your feet will be flat on the floor and your knees will be bent. Again, take a breath up, right up from the bottom of your torso, right up your core Rolf line, all the way up through the top of your head. And gently bring one knee up to your chest, and then the other knee up, so that you have both knees to your chest. And you can put your hand around your knees, one hand to each knee, and then just gently bring your knees toward your chest, so that you just pull them toward you a little bit, maybe using your fingers laced together to keep your knees close to each other. Just gently stretching by bringing your knees toward your chest. And again, breathe up and be aware of your breathing as your breath travels up your core Rolf line, right in front of your spine, just like an elevator, all the way up through the top of your head. Then gently and slowly, I'd like you to come back up to a standing position, again with your profile in front of the mirror. And now standing will do essentially the same thing that you did lying down. Move your feet so that they're parallel. You may have to look down to actually make sure that they're parallel. Now your feet should be no more apart than your hips. So you could have maybe 6 inches or so. And you could even bring your feet in closer if that were comfortable for you. I'm mostly concerned that they're parallel. Then breathe up, using your core Rolf line. Breathe all the way up through the top of your head. Then just have a sense of your waistline. Just have a little sense of bringing your waistline back. Maybe not as much as you were able to do on the floor, but bringing it back just a little bit. And then breathing up again to lengthen your neck from your waistline. And now turn your head so that you can see your profile in the mirror. And notice if you're different now than you were at the beginning of this session. Is your alignment a little bit different? Just continue to breathe up, using your breath traveling up your core Rolf line, and that begins to introduce into your body and into your awareness the sense of vertical. This concludes side 1 of the first structural awareness tape. Side 2 of the first structural awareness tape. Breathing is used to reinforce the concept of the Rolf lines, and the Rolf pelvic lift is taught. Begin by lying down on a well-carpeted floor with your knees bent and your feet flat on the floor. So you're lying on your back with your knees bent, and I'd like you to bring your feet toward each other. You don't need to have your feet exactly straight together, but within an inch or two of being toward each other. Then just begin to pay attention to your breathing. What moves as you inhale? Notice what happens in your torso and in your whole body as you inhale and exhale, just with normal, regular breathing. You may notice some movement in your stomach, your abdomen. Some of you may be aware that your ribs are moving a little bit. Do you notice your breathing or the movement of your breath all the way into your shoulders or through your neck? Can you feel the influence of your inhale with your neck? Now I'd like to introduce a shift in your breathing by having you inhale using the concept of the core Rolf line. This line begins at the seat of your pants, right at your crotch, and moves up through the inside of your torso directly in front of your spine. This line goes up through your neck and out through the top of your head. You can inhale directly along this line. You'll begin to notice a shift in the movement of your breathing as you inhale right up this core Rolf line. Remember, you can imagine a sense of an elevator so that as you inhale, you move up in the elevator floor by floor, having a sense of moving up through your torso, even all the way up through your neck, through the top of your head. And notice how your inhalation begins to change as you breathe up your core Rolf line. Again, the exhale can be a gentle letting go. If you like, you can imagine that you can exhale out through the heart center of your chest, that you can breathe out right through the sternum, through the heart center of your chest, that you can exhale and radiate that exhale out through that part of you. So the inhale is again the active part, breathing up, and the exhale is a letting go or radiating out through the heart center. And notice again what part of you moves as you breathe. As you inhale, up your core Rolf line, how does your breathing shift through your body? Notice, is your abdomen as involved as it was before? And notice what happens with your rib cage. As you breathe up your core Rolf line, hopefully you'll begin to feel more involvement and more aliveness inside your rib cage. Every inhalation is a breath up. The breathing can still be normal, easy breathing. We're only beginning to introduce a new direction for the breath. And again, the exhale is a gentle letting go through the heart center. Pay attention to the bottom of your rib cage at the costal margin. As your inhalation begins to move up, feel your lower ribs begin to widen and broaden. You can feel that from the inside using your kinesthetic sense, and you can actually put your hands on your lower rib cage and feel the movement of your breath as you breathe. As you breathe up, really feel the expansion of your ribs wide. And the bottom of your rib cage working almost like a bellows, broadening, and then as you exhale, just relaxing. And then as you inhale again, broadening and widening. And have a good sense of what that widening feels like from the inside, and begin to allow and encourage your rib cage to widen as the breath moves up through it. So you'll feel your rib cage widening up higher through the middle part of your chest. And you can move your hands up so that you can feel the widening as it moves up. And you'll widen out through the side of your rib cage, right underneath your armpits. You can put your fingers there, or you can actually even cross your arms across your chest and reach under each armpit with your opposite hand. You would have your fingertips right underneath your armpits, right at the side seam of your shirt. See if you can feel the muscles in between your ribs even begin to become involved with the movement of your breath as you widen. So the message is, as you breathe up your core Rolf line, you widen your rib cage. There's an expansive quality to this breath, as well as a lengthening quality. Now you may notice as you begin to work with your wide breathing that you can breathe wider to one side of your rib cage than to the other side. Somehow one side of the rib cage might feel more open or more available to us, more flexible, more able to expand. Notice if that's so for you. If you do observe that you have more movement on one side of your rib cage, then begin to focus on the other side to bring it up to balance. On the side where it's a little more difficult for you, imagine that you can send all your energy to that side. And by focusing all your energy and your breath to that one side, you can begin to help open it up to be able to breathe wide and expand. See how much awareness you can bring into your rib cage where you're working, so that you can feel the breath opening up the space between the ribs as you expand wide. Also, on the side you're working on, remember that your ribs continue all the way up underneath your collarbone on that side, so that you can even breathe into the shoulder, and that will help expand wide, so that you want to send all your breath to one upper quarter of your chest to help open up that side of you so your ribs can expand wide, and you can almost have a sense of breathing your shoulder broad. Then, after you've focused, as long as feels right to you, on one side, then again breathe straight up your Rolf line all the way up through the top of your head. As you breathe up, you naturally expand wide in both directions. And check again for yourself. Do you expand wide equally? Do you have a similar sense of openness to both sides of you? If you've worked solely on one side, perhaps you need to work on the other side now and enliven your other side, breathing into your shoulder, really feeling your ribs expand. Spend as much time with each shoulder, with each side of your rib cage as you need in order to feel the movement of your breath widening as you inhale, and so that your breath feels equal to both sides of you. And when you feel you've accomplished that, bring your arms back down to your sides with your palms down right at the side of your hip and your elbow points bent and heading out toward the walls of the room. Continue to breathe wide as you breathe all the way up through the top of your head. Notice your ribs expanding as you breathe up, and feel your breath reach and move a tiny little bit up underneath your collarbones. So you have a sense of breathing all the way up through your neck. And again, using your breath to lengthen your neck. So the breath does quite a bit from the inside of the body. We rely heavily on your breathing and on your imagery to begin to make changes in the structure from the inside moving out. At this point, I'd like to begin to add an arm reach. You may notice that you don't quite know what to do with your shoulders. The arm reach speaks to that problem. You begin using just one arm at a time. Make sure again that you begin with your palm down and your elbow bent. Now you reach down gently with just one arm, sliding your fingers downward in the direction of your feet. Your hand will move gently and slightly under that side of your hip. You'll feel that that gentle sliding down with your fingertips will help to lower your shoulder. That will help bring your shoulder down. Then, keeping your hand where it is on the floor, you just gently bend your elbow by sliding it out for about 1 inch, slide it in for 1 inch, and slide it out about 1/2 inch. So you finish with your elbow bent out gently. Then you take a breath into that side of your rib cage and into that shoulder. These are very gentle movements. You may feel a slight pull on your neck, a little tugging as you bring your shoulder down. You can just breathe into wherever you feel tight. Then begin with your other arm. Again, make sure your palm is down and your elbow is bent. Then gently reach down with your fingertips in the direction of your feet, sliding your hand very gently and subtly. Then just bend your elbow so that you move your elbow out, sliding it right on the carpet in the direction of being out 1 inch, and then sliding it in 1 inch, and then sliding it out 1/2 inch. Now as you do that, you want to keep your hand in the same place, and you're only sliding the elbow, and the point of the elbow is heading out toward the wall of the room, right at the floor, at the level of the floor, so that you're never actually lifting your elbow off the floor, but only sliding it gently. Then breathe again into that shoulder. And then once again breathe up. So the arm reaches help to bring your shoulder girdle down, and then the breathing wide and up helps to lengthen your neck up out of your shoulder girdle. At this point, I'd like to introduce the Rolf pelvic lift. This is the basic movement pattern. You begin by, this time, really bringing your feet and knees straight together so that your ankles will almost touch. Your heels should be fairly well under your knees on the floor. So you don't want your feet to be touching your buttocks, but you don't want them to be too far away from you. But just in general, underneath the knees. Then you begin by turning your tail under. Now this is a movement of just rotating your hips so that if you had a tail, you would be turning your tail under you. As you rotate your hips, some people might say rotating your hips up, you'll gently feel your waistline falling back to the floor a little bit. Now as you turn your tail under, you'll also feel your stomach falling back inside of you. So there's a sense of your stomach gets flatter. So just turn your tail under and then let go of it. So you can become familiar with that small movement. It's a very subtle movement. You'll know you're turning your tail under in the right direction when you feel that your waistline goes back more to the floor when you turn your tail under. You don't need to tense any stomach or buttocks muscles to turn your tail under. And then just let go again, and we'll start from the beginning. Turn your tail under, and then keeping your tail under, lift by bringing your knees forward. Now with this movement, you'll actually lift your buttocks and pelvis off the floor by bringing your knees forward. So you're stretching downward. You only need to be about 2 inches off the floor. You can slide a hand under to check your distance, only 2 inches. What you're looking for is that you feel a stretch from your knees all the way up to the back of your head. You have that sense of really being stretched out from your knees all the way up to your head. You only need to stay here a second. Then bring your waistline directly back to the floor. That's the same waistline that we worked with earlier. It's your spine at your waist. You bring that waistline, that part of you, directly back to the carpet, and you hold that for 10 seconds. Now when your waistline is back like that, your stomach should be very flat, and you get a good chance to lengthen your neck from your waistline. So keeping your waistline back to the floor, take a breath up your Rolf line, right up through your neck, so that you have a sense of lengthening your neck from your waistline. You hold that for about 10 seconds, then you let go of your sacrum or the back of the pelvis. A little bit more of you goes down, and then you let go of your tail so that you're not holding on to anything. You can just let everything go, and then take a breath up, right up your core Rolf line, all the way up through the top of your head, widening through your rib cage as you breathe up. Let me talk you through this again. Begin by turning your tail under. Then lift by bringing your knees forward. You'll only be about 2 inches from the floor, and you want to stretch from your knees all the way up to the back of your head. Then bring your waistline directly back to the floor. Now keep that waistline anchored solidly to the floor. Your stomach will be flat, and lengthen the back of your neck. Take a breath up so that you breathe up along your core line all the way up through your neck. Then you can just let go of your sacrum or the back of your pelvis, and then let go of your tail. And then again breathe up. No movement, just a sense of breathing and expanding wide through your rib cage as you breathe all the way up. You can begin to get a sense of some of the basic concepts of the structural awareness work. One of them is, of course, to lengthen up, and we use the breathing and the image of the Rolf line to help lengthen up. And the other one is to bring your waistline back, and that's the basic message in this pelvic lift, is to have your waistline back and lengthen up through your neck. We begin to learn these concepts in different movement patterns and eventually apply it in standing and walking and sitting and spontaneous movement. But the basic message is lengthening upward and your waistline back in order to lengthen upward again. So let's go through the pelvic lift one more time, again connecting the sense of waistline back to lengthen upward. And we'll integrate the arm movements into the pelvic lift. So begin by just letting your tail turn under. And you'll feel that you do need to use muscles to do this movement, but that you don't need to grip. You don't need to work too hard to turn your tail under. It's a subtle movement. Then lift by bringing your knees forward so you stretch all the way from the top of your head. Then bring your waistline right back to the floor. And this is where most of the work happens in the pelvic lift. Keeping your waistline back to the floor, lengthen up through your neck. Then, using one arm at a time, just reach down gently, sliding your palm down as you reach toward your feet, and then just gently slide your elbow point out an inch, in an inch, and out a half an inch. Then you can repeat that with your other arm, reaching down gently and sliding your elbow out and in and out a little bit. Then again, breathe up through your neck from your waistline. Your waistline should still be back to the floor. And again, lengthen up through your neck. So you've brought your shoulders down. It's a good time to really breathe your neck up out of your shoulder girdle. Then you can just let your sacrum go and let go of your tail. And take a gentle breath upward. Again, feeling your ribs expand wide as you breathe up. Let's do one last pelvic lift with the arm reach. Begin by turning your tail under, and then lift by bringing your knees forward. Bring your waistline right back to the floor. From your waistline, lengthen up through your neck using your breath. Then, one arm at a time, just reach down gently, and then slide your elbow point out and in and out a little bit. And then with your other arm, reach down gently and slide your elbow point out and in and out a little bit. Then again, breathe up through your neck with your waistline back. Breathe all the way up through your neck. And then finally you can just let your sacrum go and let go of your tail. And take a breath up so that you breathe wide as you breathe all the way up through the top of your head. Then you can gently bring one knee to your chest at a time and put a hand on each knee so that you end up with both knees to your chest and your fingers laced so they'll help to hold your knees toward each other. Then just gently bring your knees straight toward you so that you're bringing them toward your chest. Now push your knees into your hands so that your knees move slowly away from your chest. Your hands will resist the movement of your knees. As your knees push into your hands and away from your chest, you'll feel an optimum place of leverage to bring your waistline back to the floor. You have to find that place of leverage for yourself. When you get to it, you'll feel, oh yes, this automatically brings my waistline back to the floor. This is a good chance again to lengthen from your waistline all the way up through your neck so that you breathe up. Then just let go and relax and take a gentle breath. Keep your knees to your chest and just breathe gently in that position. Then repeat that same movement pattern, bringing your knees toward you and then beginning to push your knees into your hands away from your chest until you find that place of optimum leverage to bring your waistline back to the floor. When you find that place, stay in it for 7 to 10 seconds, using that leverage to give a good strong message of bringing your waistline back and lengthening up. Use your breath and your image of your core Rolf line to lengthen all the way up through the top of your head. Then you can just relax and breathe easy and gently roll over to one side or the other in order to come up to a sitting position. And the sitting position is sitting on the floor right on your sitting bones. You can feel they're the only bones that you can feel through your buttocks. You sit directly on your sitting bones with your feet flat on the floor in front of you and your knees bent. Then lace your hands over your knees and breathe up. Have a sense of your core Rolf line coming from the seat of your pants right up through the center of your body in front of your spine, moving up through your neck, through the top of your head, all the way up to your own personal star. Then just let your head bend over forward and hang. Your torso remains upward and vertical, just your head and neck hang. Then gently allow your forehead to float over in the direction of your knees. To do that, your upper back will curve. So you allow your forehead to float toward your knees. Your forehead does not ever have to actually touch your knees. For some of you it may, for some of you it may not. But you just allow your forehead to float and hang in the direction of your knees. That allows your back to curve and stretch gently. Some of you may want to slide your feet farther away from you in order to get more of a curve in your upper back. Experiment with where you best feel your feet to be placed. Then while your head is hanging over as far as it goes, breathe gently into the space in your back between your shoulder blades. You can even imagine a sun between your shoulder blades that radiates heat and warmth with every inhale into that area. Allow your breath and that image of a radiating sun to help ease your upper back and just to lengthen your curve. Then when you're ready to come back to sitting up, unfold from the very bottom of your torso all the way up. So you unfold from the bottom and you work all the way up your back so that your neck and head come up last. They go over first and they come up last. You can use your breathing to help you unfold, so it's almost like a gentle flower unfolding up. And your head and neck come up last, and you want to really feel your line, so you have a sense of the top of your head extending upward toward the ceiling. And when you do that, you may notice that your chin is gently parallel to the floor, neither jutting out nor being held in, but just easy and parallel to the floor. And just have a sense of breathing up and allowing yourself to grow with every breath upward. This concludes side 2 of the first structural awareness tape.